The night I met Adrian, I was broke. Not low on cash, broke. Rent overdue, fridge empty. 2 missed calls from my landlord blinking on my phone. The kind of broke where you say yes to every invitation because you're hoping someone else will cover the drinks. So when my best friend dragged me into that downtown lounge, I was ready to hustle free shots and maybe flirt my way into someone's wallet. What I wasn't ready for was him. I saw him before he saw me, or maybe it was the other way around. He was seated at the far end of the bar, back straight, posture so sharp it cut through the dim haze of neon. He didn't belong in that place. Everyone else was slouched, buzzing, messy from cheap cocktails. But him? He looked like he'd been carved out of confidence and leather. Salt and pepper hair slicked back, stubble perfectly trimmed, dark suit hugging his broad shoulders. When his eyes lifted, they caught mine instantly. And God, those eyes. Gray, cold, but lit with something wicked. The kind of gaze that made you want to fidget under it, but also made you want to be caught. I looked away too fast, pretending to laugh at something my friend said, but my stomach had already flipped. 20 minutes later, I was leaning against the bar, nursing a watered-down gin and tonic I couldn't afford to refill, when his voice cut through the music. Low. Smooth. Dangerous. You're wasting your time with that. I turned, heart punching my ribs. He was beside me now, close enough that I could smell him. Clean soap, faint leather, and something sharper underneath. His hand rested casually on the counter, cufflinks glinting under the dim light. What? I asked, trying to sound casual, but my voice cracked like I was 18 again. He glanced at my glass, then back at me. That drink. Weak. You look like you need something stronger. I forced a smirk. And you look like you already know everything. His lips curved slightly. Not a smile, too sharp for that. More like he was amused at my attempt to match him. Maybe I do. He gestured to the bartender without even looking. 2 whiskeys. Top shelf. I froze. I didn't ask. You didn't have to. The bartender set down 2 crystal tumblers, amber liquid catching the light. Adrian pushed one toward me with a flick of his fingers. His nails were clean, his movements slow, deliberate, like he owned time itself. I hesitated, pride prickling. I hated being the broke kid who couldn't say no. But the whiskey glowed like liquid fire, and I hadn't tasted something that expensive in, well, maybe ever. I picked it up, trying not to look grateful. Thanks, I muttered, sipping. It burned, smooth and deep, warming me instantly. He watched me over the rim of his glass, and the silence between us stretched tight. Then he leaned closer, his voice low enough that only I could hear. Tell me, how old are you? My chest tightened. 22. Why? His gaze dragged over me, slow, deliberate. I felt stripped bare under it. Because you look like trouble. And trouble usually comes young. I laughed, a shaky sound. And you? What are you, 40? 43. No hesitation. His smirk widened, wicked. Does that scare you? The way he said it, the calm authority, the undercurrent of challenge, it didn't scare me. It made me feel alive, reckless, hungry. No, I said, surprising myself. My voice came out lower, bolder. Should it? He tilted his head, studying me. Depends how much chaos you're ready for. My throat went dry. He hadn't touched me yet, but I already felt cornered, caught. And the worst part, I wanted it. When I finally found my words, they were shaky. And what if I like chaos? His grin was sharp enough to cut glass. He lifted his glass, clinked it softly against mine. Then finish your drink, son. Because your night's about to get interesting. The restaurant was warm, dimly lit, full of low chatter and clinking glasses. He ordered for me without asking, like he already knew what I'd want. Normally, I would have bristled at that. Nobody likes being controlled, but the way he did it wasn't forceful. It was smooth, like he'd been taking care of people his whole life, and I had just slipped into the role without protest. Do you always do that? I asked, trying to sound annoyed but failing. My voice cracked halfway, betraying the nervous energy thrumming through me. He looked up from the wine list, eyes glinting. Do what, son? That word again. Son. Every time it left his lips, it hit me like a current straight to the chest. My stomach flipped, my pulse stuttered. Order for people. Take charge. I shoved a piece of bread into my mouth, chewing hard to cover my shaky voice. He chuckled low, leaning back in his chair. I don't do it with just anyone. You're special. The word hung between us. Special. I should have rolled my eyes, played it off like a cheesy line. But instead, my cheeks burned. My throat felt too tight. We ate, we talked. Well, he talked mostly, telling stories about boardrooms, travels, the kind of life I'd only ever seen in glossy magazines. And me? I listened mesmerized, nursing my glass of wine like it was my ticket to another universe. Every time he looked at me, I felt pinned in place, seen in a way I wasn't used to. By the time dessert came, I was leaning forward, elbows on the table, chin in my hands like some starry-eyed kid. He noticed. Of course he did. His smile curved slow, deliberate. You've never done this before, have you? I blinked. Done what? This. He gestured between us, his ring catching the candlelight. Let a man take care of you. My heart stumbled. I know. I haven't. Good. He leaned in, lowering his voice to a growl meant just for me. I like being your first. The air thickened. My whole body was trembling, and not from the cold. My fork clattered onto the plate, hands suddenly clumsy. He caught the movement, eyes sharp, satisfied. When the bill came, he didn't even look at it. Just slid his card across like it meant nothing. And maybe to him it didn't. But to me, it was another reminder that we weren't equals. He wasn't just older. He was established. Solid. The kind of man people listened to. The kind of man who could ruin me with a single touch. And tonight, I knew I was going to let him. We stepped out into the night air, cooler now, sharp against my flushed skin. His hand brushed mine, casual at first, then firmer, until our fingers laced together. My chest went tight, my brain screaming about the people around us, the risk, the label I'd sworn wasn't mine. But then he squeezed my hand, grounding me. You're safe with me, he said softly. And just like that, my walls crumbled. Back at his car, the city hummed around us, neon lights, late-night laughter spilling from bars, the occasional taxi horn. But inside the sleek black leather interior, it was just us. Quiet. Close. He didn't start the engine right away. Instead, he looked at me, really looked like he was reading something written under my skin. I shifted in my seat, nervous energy curling in my stomach. What? I asked, voice too sharp. He smiled faintly, unbothered. You're still thinking. I can hear it. I swallowed hard. About what? He reached out, brushing a strand of hair from my forehead. His hand lingered a second too long. About whether this is a mistake. The truth stung because he was right. Every alarm in my head was blaring. Too fast, too dangerous, too different. But beneath it, louder still, was something else. Want. Curiosity. A pull I couldn't name, but couldn't resist either. Yeah, I admitted softly. I am. And. His voice was gentle now, but steady, patient in a way that made me ache. I hesitated, then turned to face him fully. And I don't want to stop. Something shifted in his expression, something warm, tender. He leaned closer, slow enough to give me time to pull away. But I didn't. I couldn't. When his lips finally brushed mine, it was nothing like the hungry, messy collisions I'd known before. It was deliberate, careful, like he was teaching me how to breathe differently. My heart raced, but my body melted into it. His hand cupped my jaw, steadying me. I kissed him back, uncertain at first, then deeper, until it wasn't just his lead. It was mine too. When he pulled back, he rested his forehead against mine. See? Nothing wrong about this, he whispered. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted it so bad. The drive to his place was a blur. City lights streaking past, the quiet sound of jazz humming through the speakers, his hand resting warm and firm on my thigh. By the time we stepped into his apartment, I wasn't nervous anymore. I was buzzing, high on something I didn't have a word for. The place was sleek, modern, all clean lines and warm wood. But I barely noticed the expensive art or the view of the skyline. My eyes were on him. The way he loosened his tie, unbuttoned the top of his shirt, moved with the ease of someone who knew exactly who he was. I stood frozen by the door, heart hammering, trying not to look too lost. He noticed. Of course he did. He always noticed. Come here, he said gently. And I did. His voice was low, steady, the kind of sound that grounded me even as my pulse raced. Relax, he said, and somehow I did. He took my hand, led me further into the apartment, past the soft glow of the city bleeding in through tall windows. Everything about the space screamed wealth, but nothing felt cold. It was warm, lived in like him. He poured 2 glasses of wine, handed me one, then settled close beside me on the couch. No rush. No demands. Just the quiet presence of a man who knew patience was its own kind of seduction. "You don't have to prove anything to me," he said after a moment, watching me over the rim of his glass. "Not tonight. Not ever." The words caught me off guard. I'd expected hunger, maybe pressure, but not this. Not care. My chest tightened, because in that moment, I realized what had drawn me to him wasn't just the allure of danger or the thrill of the forbidden. It was the way he saw me. Really saw me. I put the glass down, my hand shaking slightly, and whispered, "Then why me?" His smile was slow, deliberate. He reached over, fingertips tracing my jaw, down to my collarbone. "Because you're alive," he said simply. "Because you look at me like I'm not just money, or age, or a story. You look at me like I'm human." That undid me more than any kiss could. The night didn't explode, it unfolded. Slow, tender, careful. We talked until words melted into silence, until silence gave way to touches that lingered and grew into something deeper. It wasn't raw chaos anymore. It was deliberate, the kind of intimacy that felt like discovery. When his lips pressed against mine again, it was soft. Not a dare, not a game, not a transaction. Just a man kissing me because he wanted to, and me kissing him back because I finally wanted to admit that I wanted this too. Later, tangled in sheets, the city lights painting us in faint gold, he brushed his thumb along my cheek and whispered, "You don't have to be afraid. Whatever this is, we'll figure it out." I believed him. For the first time that night, I let myself believe it. Because age gap, chaos, sugar zaddy situations, it didn't matter what anyone else would call it. To me, it was simple. It was the moment my life cracked open, and something real poured in. I closed my eyes against his chest, letting the warmth of him sink into me. And as the city kept pulsing outside, I realized I wasn't just surviving the night. I was beginning something. Something that felt dangerously, impossibly like love. The months slipped by in ways I didn't expect. What was supposed to be a one-night chaos, an indulgence, a secret, became a rhythm, a quiet pulse running under my life. At first, we kept it hidden. Late nights, hushed mornings, my clothes smelling faintly of his cologne when I crept back home. I told myself it was just physical, just the thrill of danger. But every time he cooked for me, every time he texted just to ask if I'd eaten, every time he kissed my forehead like it mattered, I knew I was lying. And then the world started to notice. Friends raised eyebrows when they saw me in his car. My phone buzzed with questions I dodged. My family whispered, "Too careful, too curious." I hated the stares, the judgment, the assumptions. But every time I thought about walking away, he'd say something that anchored me. Like the night I broke, pacing his kitchen, words tumbling out. "They'll never understand. They'll say I'm using you. Or worse, you're using me." He didn't flinch. Didn't laugh. He just pulled me close, pressed his forehead to mine, and whispered, "Let them talk. I know what this is. You know what this is. That's enough." And for once it was. We built something strange but real. A routine that made sense only to us. His world of expensive dinners and fine wine mixing with my world of cheap takeout and messy nights in. He never tried to change me. I never asked him to be less. We just fit. Against the odds, against the noise, we fit. One evening, as the sun bled out across his balcony, painting the city in fire, I caught him looking at me. Not the way he did that first night, hungry, daring, but softer. Settled. "What?" I asked, trying to laugh it off, but my voice cracked. He smiled, shook his head, and said the words that flipped my chest inside out. "You make me feel young. Not because of your age, but because, for the first time in years, I want to look forward. And you're there." It wasn't a confession of love. Not yet. But it was enough to make me believe in the possibility. Maybe this was chaos. Maybe it would burn bright and end fast. Or maybe it would last, defying the odds, proving everyone wrong. All I knew was this. When I curled against him that night, listening to the steady beat of his heart, I wasn't afraid anymore. Age, money, whispers, labels, they didn't matter. Because love, in all its messy, complicated glory, had already chosen us.